Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 27, 2026 Town of Victor Planning Board agenda. I'd like to start with the pledge, please. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can you all hear me out there? Seems kind of quiet.
It's quiet.
All right, perhaps. Is that better? I don't think so. I don't hear myself either.
No, I don't hear you.
Crank it up a little.
You know. Try that. Is that better? Okay, thank you. Good evening. I have a few announcements before we get started with the agenda. The emergency exits are to your left and right in the room. Restrooms are out back and to the left. Please be sure to sign the attendance sheet at the back on the table, even if you're a developer or an applicant or presenting an application. There are also business cards at the back table next to the sign-in sheet to take with you with email address and phone number for the planning department, and also back there are resolutions that will be read tonight along with the agenda. Please silence your cell phones so you don't interrupt those who are presenting before the board or the discussions we're having. And also take any conversations you may wish to have amongst yourselves out the back door and close it so you don't interrupt the meeting as well. Thank you. I don't believe we have any minutes for approval. Correspondence? No, Lisa? Okay, boards and committee updates. Dave Condon from the town board is here as our quarterly town board representative. Good to see you, Dave.
Good evening, everybody. Not a lot to report. I was happy to see a few people here tonight because last night we had an empty house last night, so it was a quick meeting last night, and I was worried about Dave Nankin. I think it's the first meeting he's missed in 5.5 years that I've been working on the board. He shoved a little too much snow yesterday, he said, but things are off and running and things are going smooth, so I know you got a busy agenda tonight, so I won't take up any of your time.
Great, thanks, Dave. And Lisa for Keith Maynard.
So your next meeting is February 10th. It's Wallace Minor Subdivision at located 1195 Court Road. Applicant is requesting approval to subdivide a 6.3 acre parcel into 2 proposed lots. That is your only public hearing, and then any carryovers.
Any questions for Lisa? Okay. There are a number of items on the agenda that have been removed until future meetings. Item 3 was the Thirsty Turtle site plan modification. They requested removal because they didn't quite have everything together for that application. Number 8, Centola site plan. Number 9, Lehigh Place PDD preliminary and final subdivisions. Number 10, Lehigh Place. Number 11, Element by Weston at Esu. And number 12, Stewart Tree Service site plan. So if you happen to be here for any of those, just know they're not on the agenda this evening. Thank you. First item on the agenda is a public hearing. It's the Good Life Collective application. The applicant's requesting approval to establish a licensed adult-use cannabis retail dispensary for an inline store at Eastview Mall. And that applicant has been before the zoning board and received approval for a variance for that use. Who's here with Good Life? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Francis Gorman. I'm an attorney at Harris Beach, and I represent Philip Mello Enterprise, LLC, DBA Good Life Collective. We're here tonight for site plan approval according to the Victor Town Code. As the chairman mentioned, we did receive a variance approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals last week. And I can go into the variance a little bit. Dealt with the setback. Under your town code, you require a setback of 1,500 feet and it's measured from property line to property line, and we were short under that by 610 feet roughly, and so we got a variance for it. But under the state statute, which actually preempts the Victortown Code, we needed to be over 2,000 feet measured from entrance to entrance. And in fact, we are 2,142 feet from the entrance to Flower City Dispensary. So technically, under state law, a variance was not required. This whole issue of preemption of the local law by state law has been litigated quite vociferously the last several months, and consistently the state law has come out on top, and the Office of Cannabis Management has also issued several advisory opinions, which basically speaks to the state law preempting the local law. So based upon that, we did receive our variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals unanimously. We're here for our site plan approval. This is an interior, this is basically an in the mall space, an inline space. It's 1,500 square feet. The mall, as you know, is 1.6 million square feet. You know, this is not like a Chick-fil-A or a Bass Pro or a hotel where we're breaking ground, and there's not going to be anything structural done to the space at all.
Could you just touch on the business hours of the store, please?
The business hours of the store will be, I believe, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week.
If the mall closes earlier than that, you'd be closing at the same time
Yes.
as the mall would,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll be following all the regulations and rules of the mall.
Mhm.
And there is a letter of support from Wilmright in our file.
Okay, great. Thank you. This is a public hearing. We'll give the public an opportunity to comment in a few minutes. Start with the board. Joe, questions?
Oh, I got a few.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Marijuana is still a Class 1 drug under the federal law, so you're not allowed to actually bank like we would expect. There's large amounts of cash on hand that have to be transported. If I'm not mistaken, what are your plans for management of the cash? Will we be seeing armed Brinks guys going through the mall on a daily basis? How's it going to be stored on site?
There will be a safe on site, and I believe my client is here, but they're going to have a system set up to retrieve the cash. And while banking is not, generally federal banks aren't banking cannabis, there are several regional and state banks that are banking cannabis.
Okay. Tell me what sort of clientele we're expecting in there. Is it going to be the people that are typically in the mall currently?
We anticipate, yes. Yes. I mean, well, except the clientele will have to be of age, and there will be, you get screened when you come in. You have to have a driver's license. You have to have, proof of age. And then when you actually purchase the product, once again, you have to show, your identification.
Will we be seeing ads on TV like we do with Dick's House of Sport, et cetera?
It's not clear what the state is going to do with advertising. I know that they just reissued regulations regarding billboard advertising, and so they're constraining the advertising.
Okay, I think that's all I've got, Joe.
Okay, on the advertising, what kind of signage will there be, if anything, other than right on the shop front in the mall?
Well, it's frankly whatever the mall permits, and then we'll also need a sign permit from the town of Victor.
Okay,
So we anticipate it'll be a similar sign to what was prior use was an insurance company. It'll be a similar sign to the insurance company.
okay, thanks. Tricia, questions?
My concern was in regards, and you're, I know you said it's been litigated, but, this distance, if you look at the entirety of the Eastview Mall, it's only about 591 feet from the distance of the lot. So, and I know you said that was litigated, but based on the definition, you know, it's really the, no portion of the cannabis retail dispensary of the real property lot in which it is cited shall be located closer than 1,500 feet. Now, I know that's the town code, and this, you're saying that the state code is going to trump that, but I'm looking specifically to see where that is stated, that the state, that door to door, the fact that it was litigated makes me think that that's up to interpretation.
I mean, we have court decisions, you know, and I can submit those, but it's under the state law, you measure the distance between dispensaries from entrance to entrance. And then that's, yeah, so that basically does trump the local law. And, you know, some of the cases are, there was a case, Buenos Hill versus Saratoga Springs Planning Board, which was decided March 4th, 2024, and that was affirmed by the third department, so the appellate department, in 2025. Otts versus the town of Southampton, that was just decided on December 23rd, 2025. There's a case in the town of Riverhead, which was decided on September 24th, 2025. Another case in Suffolk County, which was decided in November of 2025. And then the Office of Cannabis Management has issued 3 advisory opinions, one for the town, against the town of Riverhead, against the town of Southampton, and against the town of Tuxedo, which is in Orange County. I'm not aware of any case law out there that holds otherwise.
Did they all involve malls, or were they storefront to storefront, freestanding?
The issue was it didn't involve malls, but it was really, one was the measurement of the distance between the cannabis dispensaries, but then they also dealt with other areas where the town had requirements that exceeded the requirements of the state. So, under state law, the town can only, do time, place, and manner, but then that's further defined under 9 New York Code rules and regulations. Sorry to cite that stuff to you, 119.2A, where the operating hours, if it's in a historic district, you got to comply with the architectural requirements. They can have reasonable parking controls, traffic controls, odor control, noise, and distances from public youth facilities. So, but other than that, the municipality can't really stray from what the requirements are under state law. And the municipality can't do it in this discriminatory fashion.
Trish, anything else?
I just feel like I would need to do further research on that personally, just to make sure that that is aligning with, it sounds like because there were court cases that there was definitely up to interpretation.
Not necessarily. I think the various municipal boards felt that their home rule authority trumped the state law, but because the state and the Office of Cannabis Management has enacted these laws and regulations, the court came out and said, no, it's clearly, other than 8 factors, which I just cited, it's clearly within the state's prerogative to set these distances, and a municipality can't vary from that.
Anything else, Trish?
No.
Okay. And you did say early on that the zoning board granted a variance from the town's code, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so they've already issued a variance
And this is a permitted use.
in the overlay district for
Yeah,
that.
in the overlay district and with site plan, we're not doing anything structurally, nothing to the outside. It's an inline store, 1,500 square feet, and a 1.6 million square foot mall.
Okay. Scott, questions?
I have no questions.
Okay. I don't know if there's anything from your perspective, Wes?
Just a question for you regarding odor control, as you mentioned, as a land use management principle for these types of uses. So with retail sales of cannabis, is there any odor? And if so, what mechanisms does this project use to control odor?
I mean, first of all, there's no consumption whatsoever on site.
Understood.
Okay. And there will be HVAC equipment that's specially designed to eradicate odor. And then also under the lease with Wilmerite, which supports the use, you know, we have to make sure that there's no noxious odors emanating from the space.
Is there new equipment being installed, or once it gets approved, to control it? You mentioned some new equipment,
Yes.
It's not there now, correct, for odor control?
There is some HVAC equipment there now, but the tenant is responsible for any upgrades that are required.
Okay. And you're saying that you would have an upgrade to that, or you don't know that?
If needed, then there would be an upgrade to that, yes.
Okay.
And again, under the lease with Wilmerite, there's, you know, we can't have noxious odors emanating from the space.
Okay, thank you. Frank, any perspectives? Frank Pavius here, town attorney. There was a question regarding from a couple of board members.
Yeah, I
regarding
think,
that.
you know, there's a couple of things to point out. One, this is a permitted use. It's within the town's cannabis retail dispensary overlay district. So it is a permitted use. And secondly, you know, last Monday, the zoning board of appeals did issue a variance that granted a variance from the distance separation requirements that are set forth in our code. And that was an issue that was pretty comprehensively deliberated upon by the ZBA members, and basically on the understanding that, in fact, our local code provisions are very likely, if not preempted, by the state regulations that deal with distance separations between retail dispensaries sites, as well as the way they are measured, that distance is measured. So that issue has been pretty much put to bed by the issuance of the variance by the zoning board of appeals. So site plan approval is really what's left for this board to review and make a decision on.
Thank you. That's something that perhaps the town board should look at to modify the current code to make it clearer?
Yeah, it's something that the town board will likely have to consider, and it's something that, you're right, absolutely, that the town board is going to have to review that law with the planning department's assistance and make appropriate revisions to comply with how the state is addressing these distance requirements.
Okay, great. Dave's here, so I'm sure he'll take that back to the board as well, so. All right, it is a public hearing, as I said. I'm going to open up the floor to anyone here who has any questions for the applicant or the board regarding this application. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this? If you are, stand up, come on up to the mic, a name and address. Don't be shy. Anything from online? Joe? Nothing? Okay. So in that case, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Joe moves,
I'll second.
and Scott seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 4-0. Further deliberation or discussion? Tricia opposed the closing of the public hearing?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, we haven't voted on the resolution yet. So 4-0 for closing the public hearing. Any other questions for the applicant or discussion amongst the board? Trish, do you have anything else that comes to mind?
I mean, I just want to point out the fact that if, you know, if we're going to be following the Office of Cannabis Management is going to trump what our towns do across the state, they could just keep changing, moving that line, right? So
They
like
could.
today, we say, okay, that's what the state says. So what happens when they decide that that line gets moved and we can have them all over? At what point is there local control?
That's where I look at our town attorney and say, hey.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. It is a moving target. The standard by which the local governments are limited by is to ensure their provisions don't unreasonably interfere with the use as it's being promoted by the state regulations. And as the counselor had mentioned, it's essentially dealing with time, place, and manner. So, yeah, OCM can continue to change its regulations, but the town and villages and cities in the state can continue to press forward land use restrictions on the cannabis use as long as the courts uphold them as not unreasonably interfering with or unreasonably impractical with respect to the use. Unfortunately, as applicant's counsel has indicated, there's at least 3 state court decisions that have said that in this instance, our separation distance and the way it's measured is preempted by the state regs.
But it sounds like there were 3 towns that felt strongly enough that their local control was being impeded upon, that they wanted to at least try to make it an issue. And my comment, I want to say that if we just say, well, the state trumps this and we never push back, if we as citizens and residents of our community don't take a stand on something, then they're just going to keep moving that mark. And we're just going to keep changing what our community, the risk of what our community is. And many people don't agree that that's a healthy thing and a good thing for our community. We have to put our children first, our communities first. And I personally think that sometimes things are worth standing up for. And our kids are worth standing up for, our communities are worth standing up for. And so, I think that because we have in our local law stating that it should be from the property, and it is, in my mind, up to interpretation in some regards because of it being reasonable to the community, I think that's up for interpretation as well. So I still have concerns with it.
Anybody else? Joe? Got it?
I have concerns about it as well, but I was curious that we didn't really get much from the public tonight. To Trish's point, I think if I saw a large number of people here that were wanting to speak and voice the same concern, I think that would affect how I take a look at this application. But in listening to the town attorney and the history of litigation in this measure, I mean, I guess I see the possibility that we could deny the application, but it sounds like based on case law that's being cited, we wouldn't survive in Article 78.
No, and I think they would raise that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
The applicant. So, however, I would hope that the town board would see if the state starts moving the line or the bar or however you want to look at it, that we push back on, is this the right thing to have in the
I mean,
town
that's my
law?
concern. At what point do you say, this is not reasonable, this is not good for our community? If we're not standing up for our community, then who's going to stand up for them?
That would definitely be something that the town board would address if the public raised it. I'm sorry, sir, do you have a question? I did close the public hearing, but if you have something you want to bring up, just come on up to the microphone, name, address.
Yeah, Francis Clement, bought a lot, Valentine Road.
I'm sorry. If you could speak up a little bit.
Sorry, my name is Francis Clement. I bought a lot, Valentine Road, Lot 8. I can't even remember what the
Right.
address is, but we're going to build soon. I appreciate your points, and I was just curious if an individual wanted to voice their concerns, how would they go about doing that if they're a resident of Victor? How would someone go about pushing back with the state?
I would go directly to your town board representatives, go to a meeting, talk to them individually if you need to, or if you'd like to. I'm sure Dave Condon would be open to that. So that would be the first place to start, since the town board made the zoning happen. So, we'll hear it in other applications if there are any in the future, but I would definitely go to the town board and talk to them.
Thanks.
You're welcome. If there's no other discussion, we do have a draft resolution for approval. Again, the variance has been approved by the zoning board, so without objection, we will move this forward. So the resolution is for the Good Life Collective, 338 Eastview Mall, whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board has made the following findings of fact, and there are 7 of them. And again, there are copies on the back table if you wish to look at the details. Now therefore be it resolved that the application of Felipe Mello Enterprise LLC, DBA Good Life Collective for site plan approval entitled Good Life Collective Site Plan, application number 33 SB 2025 as received by the Planning Board on October 31st, 2025 is hereby approved subject to the following conditions. Conditions that to be addressed prior to the Planning Board Chairman's signature on the site plan. 1, that no final signatures will be given on the plans until all legal and engineering fees have been paid as per fee reimbursement local law adopted November 25th, 1996. Ongoing conditions, that the site plan shall comply with the Town of Victor design and construction standards for land development, including Section 4. Number 2, that the proposed cannabis retail dispensary shall not open or conduct any business prior to 9 a.m., nor remain open or conduct any business after 9 p.m., Mondays through Saturdays, and shall not open or conduct any business prior to 12 noon, nor remain open or conduct any business after 6 p.m. on Sundays. Number 3, subject to applicable law, a cannabis retail dispensary shall provide to the town copies of all information and documentation submitted to the state of New York in application for a license to operate under the cannabis law. Number 4, a cannabis retail dispensary shall not operate until the dispensary has obtained all licenses and permits required for it to conduct any business issued by the state of New York and any of its agencies for cannabis retail dispensary operations. Number 5, that a move-in permit be obtained from the Planning and Building Department. Number 6, that a sign permit be obtained from the Planning and Building Department. And be it further resolved that the Planning Board Secretary distribute and/or file the Planning Board's approval letter in accordance with all applicable state and local laws and regulations, as well as town code provisions. So we have a resolution. Do I hear a motion for approval? Scott moves. I need a second. Can't advance this without a second. Hearing none. The motion or the resolution is not passed. Frank?
Yes. Yes.
So with this not being passed, the only other way to do this would be to revisit it in the future, or it's
Yeah, I
denied.
mean, having the resolution not seconded, I mean, it's not even, the members aren't given an opportunity to vote yea or nay on it, so it's
Mhm.
basically tabled at this point until such time that the planning board, wishes to take a vote on this resolution. The resolution has been at least introduced procedurally. There needs to be a second for it to be taken to a vote.
Yeah. So not denied, but also not advanced. So I guess we'll have to look at bringing this up again, unless the applicant chooses to do something different.
Yeah, I mean, they can come back and address any other more comments or concerns. They would have to consider what actions they need to take in response to the fact that the board has decided not to move the resolution forward.
Okay. I guess I would ask those that are not inclined to second or vote on this, if you could at least voice your objections or things that would need to be addressed in order to bring this forward to the board again. So it doesn't need to be done right now, but we can revisit this at a future meeting if there's a way to move forward with this. Otherwise, it's going to sit idle, I guess, and tabled. So with that, I will move on to the next application. Next application before us is the public hearing. We've seen this before. The public hearing was closed at the last meeting, I believe, that we saw this. The Barber site plan, Benson Road, owner Patrick Barber. Applicant is requesting approval to construct a single-family home on 18.2 acres.
Hi.
Mr. Elvin.
How are you, sir? I'm not Dave Cox. I wish I was his age, but, you know. Yeah, he had a conflict, so he asked me to step in for him. So my understanding is, as you said, Joe, it's on 18.2 acres. It's on residential 2. It has a public water and private septic system. Labella witnessed the perk tests and deep holes for the septic system. The Water Authority has reviewed the plans, and they're all set to go as soon as we get the approval from the planning board. My understanding from Dave was there were 2 issues that needed to be taken care of. One was to get a variance to have impervious area within 100 feet of the wetland, and that variance was obtained, I understand. And the second was to respond to Labella comments, and I do have a letter that Dave wrote responding to the comments, and I'll be happy to answer any questions there still may be on the project or the comments.
I understand that the fire department is all set with it. I think we raised that question at the last meeting, that it was short enough of a driveway, didn't require additional turnaround space, I think, at the top. It might have been.
I see there was a pull-off area.
Yeah,
And it's put on the plans. I don't know when it was put on, but
okay,
so 2 vehicles could pass.
The fire marshal did look at it, he was okay.
yeah, okay, great. That clear. Wes, would you like to address your comments and how they addressed them?
Yeah, we've taken a look at the applicant's responses. A lot of the comments have been addressed. Still waiting for some confirmation on the septic information from our septic people, septic design. So I think there was some question as to whether or not a on-site septic could be facilitated at this project site. I think there's some complications, some difficulties. But it doesn't sound like they are unresolvable. I think what I've heard from our folks at Labella is that we can work through those. So otherwise, the majority, I think that all of our comments have been addressed.
Okay, great. Open it up to the board if there are additional questions. Joe?
No, if Labella's satisfied with the responses to the comments, I'm good.
Okay. Scott?
I don't have a lot of comments. I did take a look at the plans before the meeting tonight, and I guess I agree with Wes. There's some details that need to be added to the septic. On there.
Okay.
You have a situation where, as I understand it, you're removing soil because the soil perks too quickly,
That's right.
and then you're putting down soil. I'm sorry. And so it would seem that certain notes would need to be added from what I saw on the plans, in addition to some DOH details that could be added as well. Plus,
Okay.
I assume, Wes, that your person, is it Jody?
Jody, that's right.
I assume she's going to look at it, and she would probably pick up on the same
Exactly.
same
Yep.
things.
Yep. Jody Allen, you got it.
And before plans would be signed, if we do go ahead and approve this, that certainly would be taken care of.
Right.
But that's all I have.
Okay, Tricia?
I have no comments.
Okay. Nor do I. I think we're in pretty good shape. I appreciate you working with the town board and planning board and Labella to address those questions, and look forward to seeing the finished review of the septic system. However, we do have a draft resolution. It's the closed public hearing. Oh, do we have that? It's on the bottom, right? Yep, sorry. Out of order. Okay, so I will read the resolution for the Barber site plan on Benson Road, application 35 SB 2025, whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 11 of them. Now therefore be it resolved that the application of Cox Engineering PLLC, site plan entitled Barber Site Plan, drawn by Cox Engineering, dated November 2025, received by the planning board November 4th, 2025, planning board application 35 SB 2025, be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to the chairman's signature on the site plan. Number 1 is standard. Number 2, that comments in a letter dated November 26, 2025 from the highway superintendent be addressed. Number 3, that comments in a letter dated December 30th, 2025 from code officer be addressed. Number 4, that comments in a letter dated December 9th, 2025 from Labella Associates be addressed. Ongoing conditions, number 1 is standard, 2 is standard, 3, and 4, all standard items. And be further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. So with that resolution, do I hear a motion for approval?
I'll move it.
Scott moves,
I'll second.
Tricia seconds, all in favor? Aye. Carried 4-0. Number 3 was removed, Thirsty Turtle. Number 4 is a public hearing. AT&T Singular Wireless, 914 Brownsville Road, owner Crown Castle. Applicants requesting approval to modify its equipment and installing 3 panel antennas, 6 pipe clamps, and 2 12-inch, 10-inch pipes. Not sure if that's accurately stated, but we'll go with it. Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Mark Fuentes. It's 3 2.5-inch, 10-foot long pipes.
Got it.
Those are going to go into the center of the existing antenna frames, and then the antenna will be mounted at the top to match the top of the other antennas at 114 feet, and then it'll be lower. It's a 3-foot antenna.
So as I got this, it's additional antennas on this tower, correct?
There's 6 antennas there. There's 2 per sector.
Mhm.
They're going to add 1 more antenna per sector in the center of each sector.
Okay, great. All right, sorry.
Nope.
Oh, yeah, we have it on the screen up there. And there is a laser if you like to use them that you could point to, but they're on each of these, the green,
If you go to the left,
okay?
yep, right there, the one, yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's the antenna that'll be added, proposed.
Oh, got it, okay. Okay, pretty straightforward, we've seen a number of these. This is, again, it's on Brownsville Road, so it's quite a distance from just about anything out there except the thruway perhaps. But, start with the other end of the table. Tricia, any questions?
Sure. So just wanted to understand, it's the report shows that this was analyzed by a computer analysis. Just curious if, how, because they said that it would not hold them liable. So who would be liable if there was an issue because it was not done with a live person analyzing?
Which report are you looking at? Is it the amount analysis, the structural analysis?
It was the report that was.
It's either POD or TEP. Structural analysis is TEP.
Answer that question. Was there a live observation of the building when they did the report, or was that done theoretically? 'Cause it sounds like it was done theoretically, so I didn't know, when it stayed in there because it was done that way, that they would not be held liable if there were issues. So who would be held liable if there was an issue? Because they said they would not be held liable. the company based on it not being done with a live observation.
Depends on what you're actually talking about. Maybe they're talking about the installation of the antennas. They would not be liable. They did review the past structurals, and that's how they came up with the analysis of that it would pass.
Right.
But the
well, they-
liability really falls on the general contractor that installs the antenna for any failures.
Okay.
Big falling.
They just said that because there wasn't a live analysis, there was no allowance to see any damage, anything bent, missing, loose, rusted parts. That's why they said there would not be
They didn't climb
loose
the tower
bolts.
to take a look at
It would
the-
not be liable,
Oh.
an engineering firm. So I was asking, so who would be liable then? Not the town or the,
It's POD Engineering Group, second page, maybe?
POD?
I'm sorry?
POD, yeah, they
Yes.
did the mount analysis.
Yeah, it just says that if any of the guidelines are not met, POD Group shall not be held liable. Is that
Right.
what you're talking
so
about?
that's right, yes, that's what I'm asking, so who would be liable then? If there was an issue, yeah.
There shouldn't be an issue, everything passed, it's within allowable limits. Again, if the antenna did come off the tower, the general contractor that installed it would be liable. That's a very good question.
Okay, so it's not the town though, it would be.
Not the town, town's not liable. no.
Okay, I'm just making sure that, because
Yeah.
when I see that the liability would not be covered, I want to make sure this is not falling back on the town.
Right, no.
It sounds like they made structural
Assumptions.
modifications that if they're not done, they don't want to be held liable for.
Right, because they said there was not, that all these things weren't examined, that it's hard to tell what the condition would actually be on the things that were not, that were
Yeah, they didn't.
theoretical doesn't cover like the physical elements that could create havoc, so.
Right. They didn't climb the tower and take a visual look at
Right.
the antenna mounts that are up there. So they made assumptions off the past structural analysis.
So, and Victor Code 211-47.E requires an annual report. What would that include for the annual report then?
Nowadays, they're taking drones, and they're actually flying them up around the towers. There's a lot less liability of someone falling off a tower, climbing up and looking at all the nuts and bolts and everything. But, yeah, now Crown's doing it themselves, and they've done an analysis on this tower before we made our application. So I did request one, just in case. I didn't receive it yet. But that's something that could be provided if you'd like to see it. I mean, they have to report it to the town.
Right,
They
yes,
put
it
back
says that
in.
requires an annual report, so I was just wondering what specific information we would get from an annual report. That would be helpful for us to make sure things are being maintained properly.
That would be it, most likely visuals, because they go out there with a drone, they look around, they take pictures of the tower, take pictures of the antennas, make sure nothing is loose, hanging off, looking for rust, stuff like that.
So basically, the installer needs to verify that everything as originally designed or constructed is up, how to put this, structurally sound, and anything that they've recommended to be upgraded to provide additional support for these new antennas is also done. So these guys are saying this is what you have to do. It's the contractor, I'm presuming, that has to make sure that they inspect it as they're installing the new equipment and upgrading any attachments that are required in this report. That's accurate?
And they do it on a daily basis, pretty much.
Okay.
So,
That help?
Thank you, yes, thank you.
Great. Scott?
So relative to that comment, so was there work yet to be done, or is it work that has been done that we just haven't seen yet?
no, I'm applying for a building permit, so I had to come to here for the site plan, the review. So once I get approval here, then I'll apply for the permit.
And then
And
as
then
part of
the
the,
work will be done.
part of the permit process, that analysis is done then, is that what you're saying?
No, the analysis is already complete. It's the annual report that I don't have. That's Crown's private. information, but they do share it.
Okay.
Yeah. Joe? Questions? Okay, anything from Labella perspective, Wes?
No.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the community that wishes to ask questions of the applicant or make any comments? Going once, going twice. Joe, anything online? Nothing? Okay. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Joe moves.
Second?
There's seconds on favor.
Aye.
Carried 4-0. Public hearing is closed. Unless there's any other discussion, we do have a draft resolution. All right. So, resolution, AT&T Singular Wireless, 914 Brownsville Road, whereas Planning Board made the following findings of fact. There are 9 of them. Now therefore be it resolved that the application of Mark Fuentes, agent for AT&T, 3391 Cambria Road, Marion, New York, site plan entitled AT&T, located at 914 Brownsville Road, drawn by POD Engineering Group, dated October 21st, 2025, received by the Planning Board Secretary, January 12th, 2026. Planning Board Special Use Application Number 01SU 2026 be approved with the following conditions. Number 1 is standard ongoing conditions. Both are standard, and be it further resolved that the Planning Board Secretary distribute the Planning Board's approval letter. I hear a motion for approval of that resolution.
I'll move it.
Scott moves.
Second.
Joe seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried 4-0. You're all set.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Next item on the agenda, Valenti minor subdivision. This is an open public hearing. Applicants requesting approval to subdivide a 7.04 acre parcel into 2 proposed lots. Lot 1 will consist of 6.408 acres, and the existing house in Lot 2 will consist of 0.623 acres, and this is at 6948 Aldrich Road. The owner is Kathleen Valenti.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Valenti.
Welcome.
Thank you. We really just want to subdivide a parcel of land to turn it into an approved building lot so our daughter can build her home.
Okay. Care to expand on that? I don't know, Joe, is there another plan showing the subdivision itself?
I'm sorry.
Not, the, Joe, second slide, perhaps? That's where it is on Aldrich Road, not far from the rest area. There you go. So this is your home?
Yes,
Okay, and then this is the parcel that you're
Yes.
subdividing?
yes.
Okay, so, Joe, any questions for the applicant?
I know the Valentis, but I don't think it's going to what I have to say. The only thing, I know we're not looking to do an approved building lot at this point in time, but being on the bend of the road in Aldrich Road, I'm thinking site distances around the bend, and I would probably advise a shared driveway rather than too close together. Other than that, I think I would wait for Labella's comments, but it looks like a pretty straightforward arrangement for me.
Okay, Wes, do you care to rent,
Yeah, we did issue a comment letter only today, however, so I don't think anybody's had a chance to see it. And one of the comments that we had is about whether this is a buildable lot in terms of site distance with driveway access, right? So the subdivision alone, just doing that, we don't have any assurances that there's safe site distance. So if maybe there were a way for the surveyor to put a conceptual driveway location, a curb cut location on this and identify what the site distances are, that would be very helpful. Also, I think the shared driveway or the shared access, that may be helpful too. So we need a little more information, I think, to be able to identify whether this is a buildable lot. There is sanitary sewer infrastructure out there, so they can connect to the public sewer system. I think
septic's
there's
not
also-
an issue, it's
Right.
just, yeah. Water or gas line, is there on there?
Water's there.
Water, gas, I don't know if gas is there, but water and sewer are available.
Yeah, okay.
So really, that was our main concern, is about
Site distance.
site distance and we wouldn't recommend that the planning board approve a subdivision or approve a lot where we don't know that there's adequate site distance.
That, and it's taking a risk that it's not a successful thing. Now, is this for a family member, or is it
Yes.
just, okay.
Mhm.
So it's possible you could tie into the driveway that's there
Yes,
if it
we-
was necessary?
Yes.
Okay. Scott, questions?
Well, along the same lines, if you recall, we got into this issue with Ron Santola when he came with his site plan, or with the subdivision, and he wanted to subdivide off the lot, and we said to him, why don't you do a site plan for that lot so we can take a look at it and make sure everything fits? He said, no. Wants to go forward anyway.
Mhm.
And I think that's a reoccurring theme to these sorts of projects. I think in addition to the site distance, you have the waiver that would likely be required, because wherever the driveway goes, unless the existing one's used, you're within, you're affected by those separation requirements. So I think I would ask the applicant if they've done some sort of design on property for the size that you're presenting, and have you kind of deemed that to be adequate for the needs of your daughter or whomever is.
I mean, we just worked with a surveyor.
Uh-huh.
He did that, I guess.
I guess that's always the kicker to these types of applications, is that you lock yourself into a geometric figure when you create this plat map, and then it seems quite often we find, as you get further on down the line, that certain issues arise that weren't known about at this juncture. So,
Right.
I think a little more preliminary information from the standpoint of just good planning would be helpful.
Okay. Tricia?
I have no comments.
Okay. I've shared similar thoughts as Scott regarding the driveway site distance. I think we really should secure the right, have the confidence that this is a buildable lot. You either have to show using the existing entrance or site distance for another driveway cut.
Okay.
On the inside of a curve, it'd be tough to see east on Aldrich Road, I think it is, from that driveway, any approaching traffic, unless it's clear, and I think we'd need to know that. I'm going to open this up to any other comments from the community before we close the public hearing. Is there anyone here that wishes to ask a question of the applicant?
I would just like to know what.
Here, you need to step up to the microphone, sorry. Name, address.
I'm her husband. I just want to know what the difference is between where the driveway is going to go on this lot as opposed to any other driveway on Aldridge Road, as far as site distance coming out of the driveway, safety, any reason. I mean, I don't understand.
Well, if you're putting the driveway curb cut in a, excuse me, in a location that makes it dangerous, meaning have not enough sight distance to see cars from a certain distance at the speed limit of the, or the
The
traffic
driveway
speed.
next to that, they're more on the curb than where this lot is.
Well,
I mean, site distance.
they may have been pre-existing, they may have already done a site distance analysis, we don't know that. But we do know that you should have one for any proposed lot, even if it's not being approved as a building lot tonight. You need to, in order for us to approve a subdivision, you need to know that it's a buildable lot, and in order for it to be a buildable lot, you need to assure that all of the different requirements can be satisfied. Doesn't mean you have to build the driveway until you're ready to build the house, but we certainly need to know that the driveway is in a good spot for safety. I mean, I wouldn't want my kids pulling out onto the road if it's
Right.
not a safe
So
location.
this is something we take up with the surveyor.
I think
Needs to
any
do
surveyor or site engineer should be
Okay.
able to determine that, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony is your surveyor.
Yes.
I know Anthony, and I think actually he's presented some other projects here for which he's done exactly this. And then if a project requires a septic system, then typically we like to see that the soil's been tested, and generally speaking.
We don't need a septic
Right,
system.
right, that's not an issue for this
Right.
one. Those are usually the two fundamentals we look at.
Okay.
Again, the idea is to make sure that you're aware of all the potential obstacles and the
Right.
things that might.
Or that we would need to share the driveway, our
Rather than go
driveway.
further down the road and then have an issue.
Right,
I mean, you may be correct, and that driveway to the west of the one that you're proposing isn't a difficult spot, but last thing we need to do is add to it, or, put another driveway curb cut in the wrong place. And if it means that you can use the existing driveway, and you're both safe, you and your daughter,
Right.
with a future home, then that's great.
right,
Easy enough to do, it's done all the time.
right. I think the surveyor had mentioned sharing the driveway, if we would be okay with that.
Yeah.
So I think he had
You may
thought this.
have suspected that there's a site distance issue as
Right.
well, so.
Right,
There may also be a convenience issue that may be more convenient for you depending on what your site design turns out to be.
right,
Certainly, we'd love to see you use the same driveway for 2 lots, just to reduce the number of turning movements on the highway.
mm-hmm,
It's always a standard thing we look for.
right, okay. All right,
Okay, I don't see any public comment. Do we need to, would I close the public hearing? No, okay. So unless there's anyone else that has questions from the public, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Joe moves. Chris Scott?
Second.
There's seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing's closed. I think that we would ask that you come back and say, your surveyor's given us a feeling that site distance is correct. Anything else from Labella?
Yeah, so the letter that we just issued today, you can get that from the town building office, and.
I didn't see it, I'm sorry. Oh.
Yeah, I understand. Just so that we'll provide you a copy. Looks like she's giving you a copy now. We can also get you a digital copy of that,
Oh, this is,
so that your surveyor can see it.
okay,
Yeah.
And if there's something else that the surveyor can shed light on and answer, perfect.
okay,
Yeah,
Oh.
your surveyor should have it. I sent it late, but
okay,
you should have it.
okay.
All right, so we'll see you as soon as you're ready to come back before the board.
Thank you.
Could be as early as the next meeting. if
Yep,
they
just
get-
let me know, send me information, depending on when we get it, we'll decide what meeting we can put you in, but we can talk.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Any
you.
questions, just talk to Lisa.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item 5, Valenti, I just did that. 6, Victor Community Church Front Addition. Owner Victor Community Church, 7500 to 7512 State Route 251. Applicants requesting approval to construct an expansion of 6,920 square feet for additional classroom and activity space. Good evening.
Good evening. Steve Lamarco. I live at 7056 Dryer Road. I am the lead pastor at Victor Community Church, and I also recognize me from serving as the fire chief in Victor or riding on the ambulance as an EMT. We're here tonight seeking site plan approval for an addition onto our facilities at 7500 Route 251. I'm being honest, we thought we had this already when we received the requested variances from the ZBA. This need was brought to our attention when we submitted our building permit application, and so that's why we're here at this point. The site plan locates the footprint of the addition on the property, and approval allows us to move forward with the building permit application. I believe several of the comments to our site plan application would be addressed in the building permitting process. Although we've been delayed in this process, we're trying to make use of a window of opportunity that we have with our contractors. So we can respectfully ask that potentially we could at least get a conditional approval tonight. There's other members of our team here that can probably respond to some of the more technical questions better than I can, but I'm happy to try and address any questions you may have of me at this time.
If you could, Joe, bring up the next slide, I think, for the plan of the, maybe it's the next one, there you go. So you're adding on to the building and absorbing a piece in the front of the structure, is that correct?
So your laser pointer works and mine doesn't?
No, we got it. It would just Up down here a second.
There it is, all right. So this is the existing building, and there's a little bump out here. So this building actually will be here, and this part of the building, it'll go over that.
Mhm.
That part of the building will not be demolished, it will simply be encased in the addition.
Okay, so the walls, the exterior walls will become interior walls, basically? Of that
On the west and south side, correct.
Okay,
The north and, well, the east wall, the north wall is not an exterior wall. The east wall will stay, be added to, and then it will be skinned so that it's all one.
okay, it'll be in line with the rest of the addition?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, all right. And you're approaching or right at the setback line, is that what that is?
We're at the setback from the ZBA variance that we received.
Okay.
And Mike,
Brian White, Hunt Engineers.
Go right up to the mic, please, thank you.
Brian White, Hunt Engineers. So their building plan did have a small bump out, so just kind of right in the middle. It meets right at the 50 feet. Otherwise, I believe it's like another foot or two beyond that.
2 feet.
Then most of it will be
Off.
beyond that
Okay.
at 48 feet, or 52 feet.
So, I guess I'll open up to the board first, and I know Wes will have some questions. Joe, questions from you? Okay, Scott?
So the effective setback is 50 feet, is that right, from the right of way?
Yes.
And,
Or-
I'm sorry?
yeah.
Yeah, there is a small bump out that'll be right at 50. Most of it will be at 52, but yes.
The bump out is for aesthetic. It's-
And I assume that the town looked at that and the variance is not required, is that correct?
Correct. That variance was received in 2023. So back then, we had a phasing plan that had been started, knowing that these phases were going to be coming along. So one of the phases that we came here a year, 2 or so ago, was additional parking in the back and an office addition towards the back a little bit. And so this is kind of that next phase of adding on to the front of this building.
Okay. So is your parking satisfactory for the additional use of the building?
Yeah.
So there's no change to our current Sunday service opportunities. This addition actually just gives more space to the kids. So it doesn't give us greater capacity for Sunday morning services, it simply gives more space for the kids, younger kids, teenagers.
Okay. And if you needed more parking, it looks like, I think, you were before us before, I think, when there was a subdivision or something, you acquired more land, right?
Correct, we're just under 10 acres.
Yeah. So if you needed more parking, it's like you could move to the northwest with additional parking.
That's correct.
That's all I have.
Okay, Tricia?
Well, full disclosure, I am a member of the Victor Community Church, and Pastor Steve is my pastor, so I probably think it's appropriate for me to abstain from
That's
voting
fine.
tonight, so I'll do the appropriate thing.
You told me that last
I
time when
did,
you found
yes.
this coming up, so no problem. We'll go to Joe then, since he wanted some time.
What I was trying to make sure is, if I may, I'm looking at the Phase 2 southwest view.
Correct.
Is that the facade I'm sorry. Is that the facade that's going to be facing Route 251?
Correct.
Okay.
Joe, do you have the elevations?
I'm sorry?
The other Joe. There's three of us up here, sorry.
Well, it's,
Okay.
all right. So, yes, the south, I'm
One
looking for
more.
the southwest view on Phase 2.
Or two more.
There it is on the bottom
So the
left-hand
bottom
side there.
left, correct.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Yeah, that was my concern. I was just wanting to make sure that I was oriented looking at it, and your comments about the existing entrances and parking are staying the same, so.
Correct.
And the trees that you're replacing, I imagine you're not going to put in the monster trees, but I couldn't see the size of the two new trees that you're putting in. Are they pretty good size?
Well, we'll put in what we are able to put in. Yes, we're not going to be able to replace what's there, but in like kind, we would put those in the appropriate places.
Okay. Then I don't have any comments. I was just more concerned about the appearances from the road.
Okay, so one of my thoughts was, this is a significantly taller building than the rest of the existing structure, correct?
No. So
Okay.
if I can,
You try your hand at the laser?
well, so if you look at this, which
Yep.
is the worship space,
Mhm.
it's in line with that.
Okay,
The office is a lower roof line, but it's in line with, or consistent, is it?
Mhm.
Yeah, it might be, it's about 3 feet taller.
But it's consistent with, and in style and structure, it's basically we're creating a T there.
yeah, and I didn't mean for that comment to be sounding pejorative about it, but I'm just wondering, will you see any of the other building behind it once you put this up? Is this going to be the dominant feature on the site?
Well, I mean, if you're driving by, since it's the most front-facing,
Yeah.
sure, it will
Okay.
be. But I don't think it hides everything else necessarily, especially when
Or
you're
if you're
on
coming from the east, yeah.
east or
you'd see
west,
it.
you'll still see the back of the facility, I believe, yeah.
So the front of, like the 251 side, is this long side here, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, Joe, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was sort of going with your thought on.
Yeah, and the only other thing I'm uncertain of, I'm trying to recall where it says Victor Community Church. There's a current existing sign by the entrance driveway, is that correct?
There's a sign in the front yard that we simply rebranded the sign, the existing sign that was there prior to us purchasing the property. And then on the building itself, there's a welcome over the entrance doors.
It's down here probably, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep, that's
okay.
correct.
And this yellow, just to be clear, is what's existing right now, correct? That
Correct.
small piece, and you're absorbing it with the rest of it?
That will absorb aesthetically with the rest,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Very good, that's all I have, thank you.
Les, comments,
Yeah,
questions?
so we did issue a letter, Labella issued a letter, when was it dated here? January 20th, and I think the applicant has probably either is putting together or has provided some responses already. One of the questions that we had, or one of the clarifications we wanted, is just to identify the species and diameter of trees that were going to be removed, and I see that you've got a replacement plan for those trees as well. And for note number 6, additional approvals, they did note that they received the variance. I think we'd just like to have them provide a little more specificity in that the variance was granted, expand the note so that it identifies that the 50-foot setback variance was granted on, I think it was August 21st, 2023. With regard to the water service, has there been any contemplation of relocating the water service as opposed to building on top of the service where it is today?
Arna?
My name is Arna Larson, member of Victor Community Church. Yeah, all 3 services come out the front of the building. So we've got the water service, the gas service, and the electric service. So we're talking to the utility entities about how to best address that. Either cut the service short and take it up at the front wall, or reroute around the building, or can it remain beneath the building? So we're exploring all options.
Okay.
As well as the FTC comment, that's also coming to the front wall. That'll be
Yep.
moved out. We'll have a charge line extended inside this building space.
Okay.
So this site plan approval is really for a shell permit to build the shell of the building. And then we need to identify where these services are, and then we're going to identify with the utility entities how best to address that.
Yeah.
But our mechanical space, our water riser room, that's all going to remain in its current location, and we'll be able to kind of route utilities to it.
Okay.
Arna, are the utilities, are the utilities owned right up to the building face right now by the utilities? Or, okay, so
No, these are
they're
all
out at the road basically?
Yeah,
or
these
the
are all our
property line?
services.
Okay.
So-
Because sometimes they run it up and it's on your property, for instance. Our electric goes to a transformer that's, a couple hundred feet back from the road, so.
Right,
Um,
so they're all private services from the road to our structure.
Okay. So, that, oh,
Yeah, that's helpful. I guess if the locations of these utilities may change as a result of the work and investigation that they're doing, and they're looking for approval on this so-called shell, whether or not we want to have them remove those on a site plan that might be provided for signature. I'm just thinking about, or if we sign that, I guess it could be taken care of during the building permit process.
So the point of origin at the streets will remain the same.
Yeah.
And so what we would do is intercept that service at the south wall, the new south wall, and either route around the building, tight to the building,
Yeah.
or more likely, we'll take house wire up through the addition to the main panel internally,
Okay.
and have the meter just.
At the
take it to
building
south
face?
wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would make the most sense from a financial perspective, is to just cut the services short.
Yeah.
Are the meters now at the existing building face? They just have to be relocated?
They're on the west face.
West face?
At the front.
Not on the south, on the front, oh, okay.
Right at the southwest corner.
Okay. All right. And those can be identified on the site plan? I can't remember if I saw
Yeah,
the meters. They might be there.
It's in the very south end of the west long wall.
I may not show them on this side. Like I said, there's been so many phases with this so far that I don't recall if I,
All right.
are they on there? They may be. Yeah, so they'd be on right there.
But we'll work with the utility company and make sure that whatever they deem is appropriate for if this,
Put that on the plan.
yeah. And so
Right.
when we come in for the building permit
Yep.
of the interior spaces, we'll have that identified,
Right.
as well as the sprinkling comments and things.
Okay.
So you'll need 2 building permits, one for the shell, and then
Correct.
when you're ready to do the interior finish.
Yeah, so that's why we had submitted the shell permit, because we thought we could actually advance the shell construction late last fall, but we learned that we couldn't. So we wanted to focus on getting a shell permit, and we've been working with staff to kind of program out the children's space and make sure that we've got the classroom set up the way that we deem is appropriate. So that's kind of been our winter project lately.
Wes, could they just add a note to the plans indicating that what they plan to do with the utilities?
Yeah, that's not a bad thought, Scott. I think that would be appropriate.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's easy enough to do, absolutely.
Yep.
Anything else? Wes?
Yep, so roof drainage, just be sure to clarify on the site plan the locations of all the downspouts, the connections with the existing storm system, if any, any splash blocks. I think we'd like to see a lighting plan, just because you've got some proposed fixtures, I think, towards the front of the building that are closer to the 50-foot setback. So if you can provide a lighting plan with illumination levels, that would be great.
Yeah, I've got, my lighting engineers actually putting a plan together. They're working on that today, so we should be able to have that, no problem. And for that, if we, the 30 watt that we do show, as the comment mentions, that's a 50-foot throw. You know, if we have to go down to a 20 watt or something, that's about a 40-foot throw.
Okay.
Keep it away, from that property line a little bit. Shouldn't be.
Yeah, and those lights on the front are just accent lights. There's
Yeah.
not public spaces that we're going to be utilizing this space out front, so we don't need to illuminate the front yard.
Sure.
So whatever the photometrics say we need to do, we'll tune them down.
Okay. Sounds good. So with regard to wetlands, I know there are no wetlands on your project parcel, right?
Yep.
And I think across the street, however, there's maybe a wetland adjacent area. Have you given any thought as to the need, the potential need to submit to DEC?
Yeah, so I talked to our environmental group about that
Yeah.
and went through it. They feel that the informational wetland layer is pretty liberal right there. It almost comes up to the road.
Yeah.
So even from the far shoulder of the south side of the road to where the new addition would be is about 110 feet. So technically, it's beyond the 100-foot
Yeah.
that would require going for that JD with DEC.
Okay.
So they felt comfortable that even going from that far shoulder side, and we're beyond that 100-foot, that there wouldn't be an impact. And it's just a culvert that, comes across to the other side, so there wouldn't be any, potential over on the property itself.
Okay. Yeah, then there's we had a little landscaping comment, but that's pretty much the substance of our letter. So as long as, if we could get a, you know, a written response to the comments, that's beautiful, especially that wetland one, just so that we have it on record, documentation as to some thought was put into those comments. That's great.
Yep, absolutely.
Wes, you talked about drainage and addressing it. On one of the plans, it says downspouts to terminate on a splash block, and that's at the southwest or east corner. Is that something that, shouldn't that be underground and piped away from the building?
It will be underground.
Yeah, that one will end up going and tying it. We've got an underground roof drainage system right now, so that would extend and tie into it from that one. So
Okay.
that note would end up being eliminated and saying to connect into
All right.
existing underground.
Yeah, I just get concerned because you're right at the road, you know, limits and
Yes, yep.
in terms of the easement, the
On the
setback.
south wall, we'll have 4 downspouts going either side of the bump out.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll be taking an underground storm around the west side and tying into the existing pipe that's there, and it routes to our retention system that's in the back.
Yeah, and the south wall, closer to the existing building, that drainage actually goes towards the north of the property as it is already.
So you'll tie into that
Correct.
drainage setup once this shell is built?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just sort of scrolling around your drawings here. Anything else, Wes?
That's it from me.
This is an open public hearing. Is there anyone from the community at large has any questions? Nothing online, I assume, Joe? Okay. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move it.
Got moves?
Second?
Tricia? Oh, you're abstaining.
Yeah, you're right, I'm abstaining, I'm fully abstaining.
Second.
Those seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried 3-0 with one extension. Okay. We need to see this again, Wes, or do we have a? Oh, yeah, Adam Ryzek, our code enforcement officer. Adam, do you have any comments you want to portray? The number 3 was in particular, I think, something we discussed briefly was
Yeah, I think
the existing water service.
Wes touched on.
I don't hear it's on.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Wes touched on most of my comments, the water service, the lighting plan. I didn't have anything beyond that.
Okay. All right. Want to have any objection to running a?
No, I think if they make the revisions that we spoke about and submit,
Okay,
that'll be good.
thank you.
Wes would check that before it goes forward anyway.
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, here's a copy for you. Lisa's always ready with this stuff. Okay, so this is a resolution for Victor Community Church Site Plan, 7500 to 7512 State Route 251, application 39 SB 2026. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, there are 11 of them, including the fact that the zoning board on August 21st reduced the front parking setback from 61 to 50 feet, and then also reduced the building front setback from 83 feet to approximately 50 feet. So this addition fits within that setback that's been approved. Whereas the Town of Victor Town Code, Chapter 211-27-1 F2D allows for the reasonable reduction of parking spaces required in the overlay district and shall be permitted by the Town of Victor Planning Board, and resolved that the Planning Board allow reduction of parking spaces from 150 to 100 parking spaces to be approved by the Planning Board, and whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board reviewed the unlisted action January 27th, 2026, identified no significant impacts. Now therefore be it resolved that the project Victor Community Church will not have a significant impact on the environment, and then a negative declaration be prepared. Now therefore be it resolved that the application of Victor Community Church site plan entitled Victor Community Church Front Addition Site Plan drawn by Hunt Engineers dated December 2025, received by the Planning Board December 13th, 2025, Planning Board Application 39 SB 2026, be approved with the following conditions. Lisa, should that be 25 or 26? 25, okay. Conditions to be addressed prior to chairman's signature on the site plan. It's the same thing as on the front, too. That no, let's see, number one, standard. Number two, that comments in a letter dated January 20th, 2026 from LaBelle Associates be addressed. Number three, the comments in a letter dated January 20th, 2026 from Code Officer be addressed. Number four, the comments in a letter dated January 27th, 2026 from the Fire Marshal be addressed. Number five, the comments in letter dated January 20th, 2026 from the landscape consultant be addressed. Ongoing conditions 1, 2, and 3 are all standard, and be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. So on that resolution, to hear a motion for approval.
I'll move it.
Scott moves.
Second.
Joe seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 3-0 with one abstention. Good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ames, Woods at Valentine, Section 1 reapproval. This is an open public hearing, High Point Drive Zone Plan Development District, owner Valentine Woods LLC. Applicants requesting reapproval of the June 26, 2022 approved site plan for Woods at Valentine. Section 1 consists of construction of 2 42-unit buildings, a proposed clubhouse, and associated site layout.
Thank you for the intro. Good evening, everyone. My name is James Creticos. I'm with BME Associates. I'm here on behalf of Commercial Street Partners, LLC. As Mr. Logan just mentioned, we are here for final reapproval of Section 1 only tonight. We do have an application. We'll be in front of you guys at your second February meeting to start talking preliminary subdivision approvals for sections 2 through 4. I have the townhouses, the 100-unit apartment, and the other townhouse section. So those are all at the north end of the site. So section 1 is just the portion that is closest to Valentine Road. This will now be the fourth time we're asking for approval on basically the same thing. If you recall, back in 2017, 2018, we went through the PDD changes. This was originally approved with the 84 units clubhouse between 4 apartment buildings instead of the 2 in 2019. That plan was then reapproved, I believe, in 2021. That expired again. Then the ownership of the properties, that's when it transferred to Commercial Street Partners LLC, and we came back in the last time around with them. And that was the same 84 units, but between the 2-building configuration where basically the 4 units were kind of mushed together to help get some economies of scale. This is an updated rendering of the whole site. This is current and reflects everything on sections 2 through 4 as well, with all our new tree lines based on where all our clearing limits and everything. So this is as current of a exhibit for the overall project. Again, section 1 is just these 2 longer buildings and this clubhouse here. This area itself has about 58% green space. The overall Woods of Valentine parcel is going to be close to 80% again. The minimum requirements, I believe, down at 35. There's a 65% overall for the High Point Business Park, but that includes the retail buildings and some of this down here. That number sits about 71% when we're done with this now. So we're still in compliance with all the overall PDD requirements. This lot down here also complies with everything that was established by the town board. That is the current zoning from the PDD. Water for this one will be made via a connection to the public water main system that terminates here. If you recall with this project, when they built High Point Drive and the office buildings, public water was extended down Turk Hill quite a ways. I think that happened around 2012, if I'm not mistaken. And that was brought up to serve the office buildings as well as this whole development. So our service for section 1, we're going to tap onto that. We're going to come into our clubhouse. We're going to have master meter and backflow, and then we're running private water and fire lines down to serve all of this. The original plans back in 2005 had always had this connecting, when the town of Victor maintained the water, having this connecting to the system on Valentine Road with a pressure reducing valve. That has been not the case since the water authority basically took over, and they don't see the need, and they haven't seen the need for that interconnection. So that is why the public main will stop there, and everything for section 1 is gonna all be private.
So it won't be connected to Valentine Road?
There will be no connection from the pressure system that is Turk Hill and the upper
Okay.
areas here to the lower pressure system that's on Valentine
Right.
Road. There would have never been a connection besides the one-way feed from the higher pressure zone to the lower one. But based on everything that's kind of transpired and how Water Authority has been operating the system, that connection went away, I think around 2019, if I'm not mistaken, when we did those original plans.
Okay.
Sewer for this, right now, sewer for the office buildings has always kind of gone down the hill this way and tied in through a connection here. For sections 2 through 4, there's a couple pieces of public main sitting up here that are currently inactive. It stopped here at the north end, and then it started again here at the south end. Basically, we knew that this had the potential to change, so part of this will be connecting the dots between the public sewer system, and that will also enable sections 2 through 4 to be active as well.
So the sewers from buildings 1, 2, and 300 will all still remain going to where they go now?
Correct. They all route down to this area, and then they cut down the hill to get into the system that then runs back to the pump station
Okay.
by the beer project there. Can't remember. Is it 18? 18.
Infamous 18, all right.
Stormwater is in place.
Sorry?
There's 2 pumps at 18.
Stormwater for this pond was originally built with High Point Drive. We're basically not touching this thing. It still functions exactly as designed. So all of the stormwater for section 1, as well as a good chunk of the office buildings, gets down into this pond. We have storm sewers that are going to be running on the east side of this building. All of the downspouts for all the buildings getting collected, all taken to the pond. So the only runoff that's going to be going over the property line is literally what hits the grass there and then falls off due to grade. So we'll be reducing kind of what's going there today. Overall drainage obviously is being managed between that as well as our infiltration basin, which we can talk a bit more about when we get to sections 2 through 4. There are a couple new bioretention areas that we did add when we went through this to comply with some of the new regulations. That was something that we had worked through with Mary Stebline over at LaBella on exactly how we were going to kind of update this design to comply with a new general stormwater permit, because the notice of intent for this was filed back in 2005 and it still is open and current. So
those bioretention areas that are new, that's in section 1?
correct. And we will have one in section 2 and a couple in section 4 as well. And the idea for that was we were gonna, any impervious surface that we were creating beyond what the original NOI was approved for, we're treating as a new project and basically providing full water quality and runoff reduction for those at a local area. If you look at the project from a comprehensive standpoint, this is an infiltration basin. This thing infiltrates significantly more than what we would need to do for RRV or water quality requirements, so.
So for the bioretention area, do we have a copy of that site plan that shows that change with the bioretention?
Yes,
area?
the Mylars that we resubmitted that were signed by you guys have those bioretentions in them.
Okay.
And then the section 2 through 4 engineers report that we just submitted is comprehensive and includes all of the stormwater for section 1 and 4. Not that anything changed with this reapproval for section 1 right now.
Do you have a build schedule, 1, 2, 3, 4?
So the intent is to start with the townhouse units because of the capital from selling the lots is a little bit
Up on
quicker
top,
return.
like section 4, is it?
So overall plan, I believe, will be start with sections 2 and or 4. The way that, I'm kind of getting into the other stuff, but the way these were kind of designed was both sections 2 and 4 are going to have cut. So we're going to be lowering the elevation up on the top of the hill. Cut from that material comes and makes the fills we need in section 1 and a little bit in section 3. Section 3 is pretty close to a balance, just needs a little bit. So basically what's going to happen is we're going to get this approved. We do have to do some work in here because we do need to build the sewers. We are planning on bringing in the fill. The applicant may decide to enable the clubhouse sooner to provide that amenity to the townhouse units before. So really it's probably going to be 2-4 happening probably up front or, sequentially. and then probably section 1, and then 3.
So everyone in the development, whether apartment or townhouse, will have access to the clubhouse?
That, I believe, is the intent right now, yes. The townhouses will have an HOA as well. I know you can't quite see it here, but there is kind of a red outline here as well as here.
Yeah.
So the for sale lots will, those private drive sections will be basically maintained by them. And then the rest of the private drives for section 1 as well as into section 3 are going to be retained by Commercial Street Partners, and then they're going to manage the property as well as the renting of the apartments.
I assume all the HOAs it'll be clear to those purchasing townhomes that eventually the clubhouse will be part of their responsibility and benefit?
Yes, I'm not sure, maybe if that's something that, Commercial Street Partners wants to turn over to the HOA for them to manage. That is something that probably needs to get worked out for final details, but as of right now, my understanding is Commercial Street Partners is maintaining ownership of that.
Okay,
So
but they
I
would
think they would probably more rent space to the HOA for meeting rooms, or allow them to use, the pool or the bar or whatever's gonna be in that clubhouse.
Wouldn't there be a membership fee to everybody in the HOA to have access to it?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
Again,
That's what-
the semantics of that, I'm not.
Yeah, my challenge is making sure that it is crystal clear to whoever's buying it that eventually they'll have that, or have the option not to have that if that's the case, feature on their lease or HOA fee.
Fees or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the HOAs is, quite a bit of educational purposes for the builder, and then even for, us kind of engaging, how do you guys want to establish the corporation and everything like that,
Mhm.
so. Whatever entity ends up building the townhouses and stuff will generally take the lead on the HOA construction.
Okay? Wes, sorry. Was there anything else?
All set for right now.
Yeah,
I'll let
okay.
them continue.
We did get some comments from a couple of the town reviewers. Codes didn't really have any comments. Farmington Water and Sewer asked us to update their details. That's easy. We'll do that before we reprint and then reroute Mylars for signature. Highway was the typical work permit within the right-of-way. We did get some landscape comments for the sketch plan that are kind of applicable to this. They did kind of ask if we're going to be planning on doing any foundation plantings for the apartment buildings or the clubhouse. The plan has always been, no, we're not planning on doing that. Really, the architecture, Hamlin is still the architect, so it's the same building designs that we've had the whole time. The intent is to really bring out the architectural feel of that and then promote the woods on the property, bigger trees, things like that. There are some larger street trees, you can kind of see them scattered in here on the rendering, just to kind of break it up. And then there is some, bare root tree transplant areas, the things that we were kind of talking with Fred Rinaldi when he was here about that. So there is an area in section 1 that we're going to be doing that. Again, that's called out on the plans already today. And then there will be another section up here in section 3 where we have some ability to replant a slope area that we had to clear.
Are there retaining walls at all needed for any of these 4 pieces?
Right now, the only retaining structures are the backside of the clubhouse acts as a retaining wall because of the road sits up about 14, 15 feet. So that's going to come down. You're going to see a couple feet exposed up, and then you'll see the eave and then the pitch of the roof. Besides that, no, we've really been able to get rid of all the retaining walls here, with the exception of a couple coming into the garage for the apartment building, and then one on the back side of this parking lot here where it lets us not cutting to the slope. And we've always had a retaining wall at that
Mhm.
location. That's something that we can't really get away from.
Are they consistent with the retaining walls in the commercial side? Or stone, basically?
We have reduced the retaining walls with this plan in sections 2 through 4 now compared to what it used to be significantly. There was a lot more retaining walls because of the access into the underground parkings and things of that nature. Now with the townhouse units, we have the ability to walk out the backs of the buildings. They can fit better into the grade. There's a lot less earthwork overall.
Yeah, I got no problem with that part of it. Trying to reduce walls is always a good thing, in my opinion, but the construction of it, I mean, those are all beautiful hand-laid stone, concrete stone walls, going up High Point. And in the areas where, I mean, you can see them when you drive up from the cobblestone area. So my question is, are the walls that remain as part of your design now? Are they going to be stone also, or are they going to be something different?
I'm not sure on what the exact finish of that would be. I mean, that's something that we don't typically specify. I mean, whether, I would assume that they'll want to do something decorative to match the architecture of the buildings that they're, you know,
Okay.
beautifying, basically. These aren't just the typical buildings. But again, the only real retaining wall, I think that you would even have you'd be able to see anywhere is if you'd have to drive into the apartments off of High Point Drive. So you're not going to see any new retaining walls from the public right away as you're driving.
Okay, thanks.
The last set of comments we got was, I think, from Parks and Rec. They had a couple comments. The first one had to do with the trails. As part of, obviously, the Woods of Allentown Trail has always been a big thing that Fred and now Dave Christo wants to continue. As part of Section 1, we had 2 trail connections shown through kind of the sloped area of between the office buildings and Section 1. Parks Department kind of alluded to them possibly wanting to take the lead on constructing and siting those trails. I talked with the applicant, and we are more than willing to let them kind of do that. We would like to obviously have some coordination with them, but we would be happy to kind of let them spearhead it. It'd probably be a better thing too for long-term maintenance if the Parks and Rec guys who actively use the trails in this area, you know, contribute to it and maintain it, so.
I don't remember seeing that they wanted to actually build them, but I know there was some recommendations that, I know hiking trails was here, but Brian Emelson made a comment on sidewalks on the west side, I think it was.
Yes, that was the next thing I was going to touch on. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the second comment talked about a 5-foot wide asphalt or concrete walkway on the west side. And from a couple perspectives, I think it's worth a little more consideration. I'm turned on.
Okay.
And I'll make sure. If people are going to access those hiking trails, for instance, walking up and down the roadway, probably not the safest alternative for it. And if it goes down all the way to Valentine Road, I get that there's no sidewalks currently at Valentine Road, but if you're considering a parking space down on Valentine Road and High Point Drive, it would be a good tie-in point for that. And I'm not sure of the distances from maybe a proposed parking spot over to, say, Starbucks and Olive Garden. It might be just an attractive opportunity for people to walk to and from dinner or coffee, whatever. People like to get out and walk. I think it's probably worth a little more consideration for the sidewalk.
Yeah, and then those kind of conversations with the sidewalk have come up, I think, every time we've been in front of this board. I think kind of dating all the way back to the original, there was never plans to have sidewalk there. There was always some concern about town maintaining, you know, the public sidewalk along this portion of the right-of-way due to the sloped and kind of almost isolated area from the rest of the locations that would be plowed regularly by the town, I believe. As part of the woods, when we went through the PDD, there was always plans to have like the natural surface trails. So sections 2 through 4 had natural surface trails that ran up along the drive, so not sidewalks. There was a connection between the 2 existing road stubs here that was going to be proposed and is proposed again. Some trails in the woods and then trail connections up here. There was never in plans to have sidewalks constructed along High Point Drive. Our preference would be to continue to maintain that. And again, same thing, there is no sidewalks along Valentine Road along that stretch. And constructing sidewalk there was something that I know Fred Rinaldi had us looked at a couple of times to help facilitate bringing or creating a connection here. There is some limited space there, would require retaining walls. There's some issues obviously with proximity of that sidewalk to the travel lane that we were looking at without having some costly construction impacts. So I definitely don't want to be committing our client to any construction on Valentine Road public. I think for Section 1, since we're just looking for a reapproval now on that today, I think we still have the opportunity to discuss sidewalks with the Section 2 through 4 preliminary and final subdivision approvals that we're going to be doing here in the next couple months. And then that would give us an opportunity to really kind of flush out, does it make sense to do sidewalks here, and kind of evaluate it from, a town standpoint. Is it something you guys are willing to maintain, or is there some kind of middle ground that we could maybe get to, or something maybe the HOA could take some ownership of, or something of that nature.
Okay, and then the final point with the 5 to 6 vehicle parking area, you're open to discussing that a little bit more?
Yeah, we're absolutely open to that. The one thing I would like to point out is we don't have any property on the south side of Allentown Road. You got it.
Right.
So Fred Rinaldi retained the one little farmer here, and the southwest portion here is the farmer's land. So basically, the only portion that we have, and I was kind of thinking about the comment, I was wondering if they actually meant more of a parking area here at the south intersection of our section 1, where it might make more sense than have one of those trailheads down the slope kind of tie right into that. So if that's something that we're talking about there, that was something that we would definitely consider. We just want to make sure the location is something that is on.
Something that makes sense.
That's on property controlled by the applicant too, because.
Honestly, I don't think I'd want to see it on Valentine Road proper. It doesn't, it's heavily used.
Yeah, it's
road,
not
and
it's not a safe location
Yeah.
along there with the roads. I
Come
my
on
in-laws
to-
live off Valentine, so I drive it every day.
This is all High Point Drive, right? The whole stretch of road?
Yeah, this is all High Point Drive.
Yeah, right, so anywhere on High Point Drive that makes sense in the vicinity you were talking about, I would personally.
Right, and basically the Woods property kind of follows the flag up here, and then there's like basically it cuts through the middle here. So everything up on the top of the hill, this is all still owned by the office parks, 100, 200, 300. And then everything along the lower portion on both sides is owned by the applicant. So as long as we're within the right of way along that, or, just within lands that we control, we can certainly find a nice spot to designate that, or maybe it's even something that we can expand internal to the site to make it a little safer.
Great. I'm pleased that you're considering these because the Victor hiking trails do a really good job making sure Victor's walkable, and I think this is going to be a.
Yeah, and that was something that Dave Christer wanted to make sure that we carried through with this, just because that was something that was kind of key with, that Fred was always talking about, was making sure we're expanding the trails out here and making them usable. So, we're willing to just work with the Parks Department to kind of, as much as they want to do, I think we'd be happy to entertain it. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
So I think that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to touch on. So again, we're looking to do reapprovals if you want. I have all the building elevations. I also have the balloon study photos that we did and the visualization, like the true rendering that we did of this building from Valentine Road. So let's just walk through those. If you guys have any questions on things, please interrupt. Please stop me.
James, do you want the elevations? Everything is in there, so.
Yeah, go through the elevations first,
Okay.
and then.
Joe IT, go one more. Another one. So that's where they start, and then it goes into the views.
Yeah, so go one more, back to what you had. So again, these are the bigger buildings here, so basically kind of looking from the south end up the front of it. This is kind of the central area that's carved out between the two buildings. There's parking on the first floor, it's a little bit taller ceilings on the first floor there. There's apartments on the front of the first floor here, and then there's apartments on the full second, third floors, if you remember. The parking garage does not go all the way straight through the building. It basically comes to the center area where all the elevator towers and things are. But there is garage entrances on both sides. There's 84 garage spaces, so there's a covered space for every unit. There's another external space for every unit, and then there's another 25 spaces for the clubhouse. So there's good parking here for all the units. If you want to just keep flipping through these slowly. So same idea, another view from the building. This is back of the building. This isn't a rendered view from Allentown. This is just Hamlin's kind of 3D graphics thrown in there, so you can keep going. Here's the front elevation of the building. So obviously you can kind of see the smaller central area, as well as kind of what the older massings are. Code height here, 48 feet max. Our eaves are approximately 39, and the peak of the roof is about 44. So we're 4 feet below the maximum. This has basically been the same thing every approval that we've been here for. So just a couple more elevations of the back, of the ends to kind of show, the entrances. Again, just architectural buildings. These aren't bricks. There's lots of balconies, peaks, roofs, really trying to break this up and make it not, a prison cell type project.
I don't think Dave's going to design prison cell.
This is the clubhouse, so same kind of architectural feel. Basically this sits kind of at the north end of the site. This is the bumped out portion of the building, main entrance. The pool sit to the north end, which will be right here. And then the back of this side is what's gonna be the retaining structure. Just the other couple elevations of this. Again, these don't quite show the retaining feature of this, so there'll be a little bit less detail on the back side. So this is the visualization photo from Valentine Road. So this sits southeast of our site a little bit, looking up into it. You can kind of see the buildings placed here. So these buildings were all placed based on the old balloon study photos that we shot when we did this in 2018, 2019. When we did that, we had the 21 unit apartment buildings. For this, they're effectively in the same location. We went and flew balloons at 48 feet in height at all these locations. You can't quite see the balloons because they're a little bit less apparent. There's one like right there you can kind of pick out. In the photo without these, it's a little bit apparent. But this is the view you get as you drive around kind of the bend to Valentine, in a leaf-off condition.
So this is from Valentine Meadows area that the gentleman here in front is.
Yeah, there's houses there now, right?
There are houses except for lot 8 apparently. That's yours.
These is where
I got it nice and mowed, you noticed it.
Yeah, I see that.
Yep. And then even in the background, this is where you can kind of see the peak of the office building that peeks through the trees at night when the lights are on. So, those still sit a little bit higher than what we have out here today.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, of course.
This is probably the one nearby view that I'm most concerned with, and I guess I just need to go back a little bit and say that, I've been in the town for a while, and I remember when the balloons were first done, when High Point went in for the initial building. I remember Bruce Baumke was presenting to the board at the time, and it was an issue that was very important to the town because it kind of encroached on a piece of real estate that no one ever thought could be developed. And it was my understanding at that time that that was a unique type of building, office building as it is now, and that most development would be well secluded on that hillside. But when I look at the plans and I see it in particular this side, in this particular phase of what you're doing, you're taking all the vegetation out to about the property line, and from what I can tell on your site plan, and you end up with like 1-on-2 steep slopes from the building there on down. So perhaps on the other side of the tree row that's shown there, I think you would get a different view to what you're speaking about. But I just think that from a visual impact perspective, this portion of the project is going to be highly visible. And I've driven by now multiple times since I've seen the application kicking around here, as recently as Sunday night, to just once again look at it, and I can see the main building with the lights on and such, and that seems reasonable considering the original study that was done. But this goes up, unless I'm mistakenly reading the drawing, which I don't think I am, this goes right up to the edge of the property line. So all the vegetation will be removed there in favor of a steep slope going up to the east side of the buildings. And I don't see how you can avoid a significant visual impact from that. So my question is, what can be done to buffer that then? All the natural vegetation will be removed. Is there, I don't know if you can get anything to grow on, looks to be a 1-on-2 slope that's there. I see that you're proposing a mesh product to hold the soil together because of its steepness, but we've seen before it's hard to get things to grow on slopes like that. So my question is, what can be done to buffer this visually besides architectural amenities in terms of roof lines and balconies and things like that?
So I think when we've kind of been talking about this over the years now, I don't think we've ever really tried to hide the fact that this is going to be visible from Valentine Road. Obviously we're providing the visualization here. You can clearly see the buildings through the tree lines. Obviously leaf-on conditions will be a little bit better, and depending exactly which tree line you're standing in front of or behind, yes, there's more or less views. But part of kind of the whole rezoning of this, the discussions with the town board, the discussions on the height, establishing the 48-foot max, 3 stories, that has been kind of the established zoning for this project back since 2018, 2017, when the rezoning was done. And even so much as when we went back through with the town board this summer for the changes to the PDD again, to allow for the a 4-story apartment building that's going to be in section 3, as well as, you know, understanding that we're going back to the townhouse units, so changing the maximum density down back to 255, which is a reduction of 39 units. So I think from this standpoint, Scott, I do understand what you're saying. I think, you know, we can look at if there's any feasible way to try and minimize clearing to that property line, but basically to get the grades to work and function off the site, there really isn't too much flexibility we have back there. We can certainly look at some screenings, but again, you're in the context of a 48-foot building, there's not going to be too many plantings you're going to put up there anytime, you know, short term that are going to, you know, have a substantial effect on that.
So just let me see if I can get this clear in my head. When it first came in, it was supposed to be a PUD or PUD, I guess. And then you said there was a zoning change thereafter that enabled what we're seeing here. Is that correct?
So when the original PDD was established in 2005, it included the retail things, so the Olive Garden, in that area, and included all 3 or 4 of the office buildings, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. I think there was a building
Yeah.
400 back then.
Yeah.
And then the Woods of Allentown component was a townhouse component back then. It did not have the northwest section. That got added in 2017. That used to be part of the Forest Park PDD. That got basically assimilated into the woods. Fred Rinaldi acquired that, and then when we went through that, we rezoned that and kind of worked through that. And at that time, that was how we were going to facilitate the transition in the town. That was part of the comprehensive goals at the time, to transition from the office to, you know, apartments down to the single-family homes. So to make the project viable at that time, that was when we had the 21-unit buildings, and that's how the PDD code stands today, which is 3-story, 48-foot max height, 21 units. There was 4 in section 1. There was a number up in sections 2, 3, and 4, and that totaled, I think, like 298 units. I think the PDD allowed us to do 300.
But in the process of doing the zoning change thereafter, as you're mentioning, the most recent one, that enabled the buildings and visual assessments were done to allow buildings to get this close to the property line as you're proposing here?
Correct, right. We haven't really changed the clearing or building positioning or heights on this since we went through everything and went through seeker in 2018 with the town board, with the planning board's input, and, you know, the following negative declaration. And then the seeker negative declaration was also reaffirmed when the planning board did the overall approvals in 2019, and then the town board again reaffirmed the seeker neg deck for the project as recently as a couple months ago when they just redid the rezoning again. So again, all of this has been reviewed as part of the seeker process, vetted. That's why we provided these graphics, the cross sections showing the impacts. And this is the exact same project that was approved 3 years ago now. If we had just broke ground, we wouldn't be here having this conversation. And it's the 4th time we're basically here asking for this. So.
I recall when I was in before, and I think it's probably the Valentine Meadows project and the homes that have gone in here that sparked my attention to this area more so than it was before.
And I completely understand that. I had the same thought when I first saw those homes being built. I hope they looked at the zoning code for the adjacent property.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your response. I think it's a big impact personally.
They do show clearing right to the property line, or at least, as James was alluding to earlier, fill the property line to get the buildings up a bit from excavation on top. Is that right, James?
Correct.
So, and then there's also clearing shown on their drawings. Sorry, I'm scrolling through here.
I mean, there's some things we could do to potentially maybe limit that. Maybe we could walk the building out more on that side. I know we'll have to talk with the fire marshal. Maybe there's some small retaining wall structures that we can do to save more of the hedgerow there and preserve a little bit more, but I think that would,
I actually thought you had more property, quite honestly. I thought for some reason you had more to the east than that. And then, just looking at it, I mean, in order to put you're 30 foot away with your building, you've got a storm sewer going through there. By the time you put all your utilities in and everything, there won't be twig left in that area. I don't
Yeah,
think.
everything existing is shown to be cleared right up to the property line. And then there's, you look at the aerial, and Wes has been sort of scrolling through on,
would you mind going back to the overall color rendering?
Yeah, the green that you show east of the buildings is,
and there's probably 20 feet on either side of the property line that has trees anyway, so.
well, on the neighbor's
20
property.
feet of
On
it's-
the neighbor's property, yeah, there's some vegetation on the neighbor's property.
Right, I'm just saying it's not a big buffer. Once you clear the 20 feet on the one side, on the Valentine, Woods of Valentine side,
Yeah.
what's remaining is probably 20 feet buried
Not even there.
of trees.
And so you can see the hedgerow appearing right there.
That's
Yeah.
the one, and that's the one that's kind of more in the foreground in the
So your
photo.
viewpoint is further to the east, looking through that hedgerow, so it's a little deceptive when you're looking through that tree row into the next row of trees that's going to be removed. But, you know, I would recommend, if anybody's as interested as I am on the board, drive down Valentine Road and take a look at that thing. I mean, you can see the office buildings quite easily because it's a leaf-off condition right
Right.
now. But you don't have to be an engineer to take a look at that and figure out, that's gonna be very, very visible.
Yeah, and it's, as James has been,
It's the same visibility we've been presenting for
Yeah.
years, though. It's the same one that's been approved, that's been vetted by seeker. So and I appreciate your comments, Scott, but at the same point, it is, I mean, the project basically cruxes, all the sections on this crux on the economics and the viability of this. So a single section like this not working kind of throws a big monkey wrench in there.
Yeah.
And I really think that, again, we've already went through this with seeker, and there's already been a negative declaration on visual impacts.
Did they remove the seeker then, is that what
The last time that this was changed, we reevaluated seeker and reaffirmed the negative declaration that was provided previously.
So that's water under the bridge, so to speak?
yeah, you'd say
Yeah.
that.
And things are different, right? The conditions today are different out there. The Valentine Meadows subdivision, that wasn't there back in 2022. So, yeah, there's definitely a change here.
Yeah. Well, those are my comments.
Okay. Tricia, any thoughts? I know you hadn't seen this.
Right, no,
Yeah.
I'm sure I've missed a large portion of the
Yeah.
time. Has anyone else from that community come forward and expressed similar concerns of seeing it, or?
Well, it's just a public hearing. So I know there's at least one or two people here that are from the public in the area.
Right.
And I certainly would be glad to hear them at this meeting. When I get to that point. Anything else?
No.
Okay. All right, I'll take the time now. If anyone from the community would like to come up and comment, question?
Francis Rose, you know who the hell I am.
Just the address for the record, please. Mr. Rose, just for,
Yeah, Francis Rose,
yeah, address.
right there. Right there.
Got that, Lisa?
Yeah, she knows where I live. So, what are you gonna do with this water, boss? This water goes right on up through there and starts there, that creek.
All right, I'm sure James can address that. It's been,
Okay, and then how close are you to this property line? That's my sister's property line. Okay? And there ain't a heck of a lot of room in here. So you got, right here, you got a concrete wall for the property line. Been there for years. And there isn't much room between these and that property line, because I've mowed all the way up to it as far as I can. And Francis, is this your property right there?
No, I'm actually.
You're that one?
I'm right behind, you know, the old house, the old house.
Across the street.
Well, you over here?
Yeah, I'm across the street.
He's number
Yeah.
8, or
Yeah.
lot 8 on that side.
Oh, you're right there, huh?
Yeah, that's me.
That's what I told that guy right there when he said he bought it, to find out if he owned all this, and he said he did.
He does not.
I didn't think so, because I know better, all right? But anyhow, I'm more concerned about that, but like I said, there ain't much room here. I don't know how you're gonna do all that, because right over here, there was a guy that built a house, and he built too close to the property line, he couldn't get into his doggone garage. All right, we had problems with him. We took care of him. And, so that's my main concern, but that water does not stop flowing. Yesterday, there was steam rolling off in that.
Steam?
Steam was rolling off that.
Is it warm water
Well,
evaporating?
that water was moving so fast and it was so cold. And my great-grandfather wanted to know if it froze, it was 30 below zero one time. My father says, no, it's running. So, I just want to know what we're going to do, because that water runs right in through there. You're going to put a pipe all the way down through till it connects there. And so that's my main concern. Don't pollute that creek, because that feeds my cows. And then you said you're going to put the storm water into here. That's going to flow into here. And that flows into there. And I think right now this thing is not working properly, because right there is wet now. And it never used to be. And I had them raise it up because it was flowing over. I had Victor Water Management come, Benedict. He came and saw the water running right over. So he had Rinaldi build it up. Okay, because originally the engineer had it lower, and Rinaldi wouldn't do anything about it. And I said, well, I've already talked to the DEC, and they said, just put more water, dirt there. But they went through the proper channels and built that. But now I think it's undermining. That pond right there is undermining, because it's wet right there in that corner, and it never was.
As I recall, on that subdivision, the Victor Valentine Meadows, that pond was, I believe, included as part of remediation, and I'm trying to shoot from the hip here, but some of that was addressed during that, so I don't know if this impacts it directly or not, but we'll have them take a look at it while we're looking at the rest of the site. Thank you, Mr. Rose. Appreciate your comments.
Do your job. That's all I have.
Dave?
David Wright, 33 Ketchum Street with Victor Hiking Trails. I want to appreciate, let the owner of the property know that we appreciate the ability to put some trails in on the road opposite the apartments. Back in 2022 or 2023, when this was approved originally, we did go back in there with Parks and Recreation and looked at possible trails there. There is a steep slope. There are some hills and valleys there. We would want to make sure that the trails are sustainable. They don't have washouts. And we'd like to make sure that the trails are suitable for bicycles, mountain bikes, as well as pedestrians. So I do appreciate that. The other thing, the sidewalks versus natural pathways, I didn't really see anything in section 2, 3, and 4 that showed any pathways, so if they could show something on the plans so that we know where they're going to be for the residents. I look at that and I see all the office buildings on the top, and I see all the potential residents down on the bottom, and we know that people like to get out and walk, and we want to make sure they are safe when they are walking out there.
I believe we'll see the next three
Right.
sections coming. I believe we'll see the remaining three sections coming before us.
I already have the pamphlet, or the plans for that, already got
We'll
that.
look forward to your comments on that as well.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing was, when we were looking at where to park, if we could have a parking area along this area. We were thinking right on the corner here with the driveway coming off of the, not Valentine, but the
High Point?
High Point, right, drive there. We didn't actually physically go there and look at the slope. I think we thought it was fairly flat at that location. But, you know, we're open to parking anywhere along there that makes sense.
Mhm.
Again, making it safe.
Sounds like James was talking like that would be a feasible thing to do, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
okay, thank you, Dave.
We already got that. It's flat.
Thank you
up
again.
there.
Francis Clement, Lot 8, Valentine Road. I appreciated Scott's comments. From where I am supposed to build, that is heavily visible. And I appreciate you taking that into account. I've got, my wife, my 3 kids. We have to build a little bit up on an elevation. We're supposed to take down a few trees, and we're right behind that old house, So we're going to be up a little bit, and I would appreciate privacy as best as possible. With technology now, and I just don't want anyone looking in my house. I got little kids, I purchased that lot because I wanted privacy, and I have concerns. I didn't come here to be a bad guy or anything like that. I respect people's desire to build and to create opportunities for other people. I wish we could pick that whole apartment thing up and just move it on the other side, and bring those trees on the other side, on the right side, just get them further away from us. That's just, personally how I feel. These homes are extremely expensive. We're supposed to be spending over $1 million to build this thing, and I have concern about my property values as well.
So we did look at, because I'm probably the only one on the board that was here when this development came forward, and originally they had a couple of office buildings proposed here, which got eliminated pretty quickly. One office building up here, which is, James alluded to, is gone. It would have been building 400 in favor of residential. But these townhouses have been on there almost since the beginning. The steep slopes that Dave Wright just alluded to for the hiking trails was talking about would have made it very difficult, if not impossible, to build without relocating the road. Mr. Rose, I'll get to you in a minute. And so the site was approved with the road where it is and the townhomes as they are. So I can't argue with Mr. Rose at the moment, but there was a slightly different variation on these. I think it was changed, James, I don't recall, it was 2018, 2019, something like that.
Yeah, when we did the PDD.
Yeah, right. So that would have been the only change, and it's been that way for, since then, before we approved these lots in this area, and I believe yours would have been the same subdivision. So, I certainly appreciate your concern about visibility. I don't know which lot is yours specifically, or where your house lines up on these?
Like below that, little.
So is it near?
I didn't have my meeting.
Across from the pond.
So this is
His property line would be at the end of that lot, for me. I hate to tell you this.
I'm supposed to share the
So
same.
yours is then around behind
Right
these?
there. Yep,
Yeah.
that's it.
And where is your house going, or?
So I'm supposed to share the same driveway
Driveway.
as the old house.
Okay.
And I just branch off
Off
and
of
go
it, yeah.
deeper into the
Okay.
lot.
Well, your view is like somewhere around
Right
here?
there.
Yes, it's a bit elevated,
Up towards, yeah.
So, yeah, we got about 5.9 acres there. I can appreciate that this was approved before there were other homes.
Mhm.
Wondering whether it is possible for matters to be reconsidered in light of the fact that they had their opportunity to build, they did not build. Land was approved for single-family homes, and building has begun. We jumped on our opportunity. That, so, and what we decide here will probably affect other projects going forward. You already know that homes are scarce now, right? And so now we're dealing with, they're not making more land, right? So now we're dealing with situations where, it's business or, families.
I can totally sympathize with your approach or your, concerns. So, Mr. Rose.
Thank you.
McLean, thank you.
Upper right-hand corner.
Hang on, before, Mr. Rose, if you want to say something, come on up.
I don't need the mic.
Well, yes, you do, because Lisa needs you to be on the mic.
The mic.
Yeah,
All right, originally, Fred Rinaldi came to me and that right there was office buildings. That up there was light industry. That was the original plan. Then, when he submitted it, he flashed a Kodak moment of,
well, he put townhomes here because the board, and I was on the board at the time, requested a transition between offices and residential.
he said he didn't know whether the town, because I pressed him on it when he had that little slide, because it just went bum, boom, real fast. And I nailed him afterwards. And he said, well, I don't think the office building's going to work, so I got to put the townhouses in.
Well, it wasn't going to work because the board didn't want them to have an office building in your backyard.
Yeah, well, like I said, that was supposed to be light industry up there. Okay, that's,
I appreciate the
That one.
thought about the original
Yeah, the original
approach, but
plan.
that's before the board got a hold of it
Yeah,
and
all
said,
right.
this is what we want to
yeah.
revise.
I hate to tell you this, young man, but you ain't going to be happy. I'm a working farm, and I do spread manure there. You will smell it. My sister lives here over the hill, and she can smell it.
If you're in farm, if you're moving into farming country, unfortunately, that's the way.
I'm sorry, but that's the way life is. Been there since 1790, and they're going to be hell to move me.
Okay, I got you.
Been there forever.
James, any comments?
Yeah, I'll just respond to a couple. Dave, right, you are correct. The only trails we have on the section 2 through 4 plans right now are the ones along the road and then in the right of way for the connection. The rest of the trails, we do need to add those. Those are gonna get added between preliminary and final. I was thinking maybe we'll just set up a meeting with you guys and then we can talk trails for the whole project with us and.
Call Brian Emelson
Yep.
when you're ready.
Yep, we'll do that here in a little bit. The next comment about the stormwater runoff that Francis had, talking about the tributary that basically runs through our property.
Right.
If you guys recall back as part of this project, we had to build this drive stub. This required a bunch of fills over top of that stream. There is a existing culvert in there. As part of that, we had to do constructed wetlands mitigation and monitoring. That's been done for, I think, over 10 years now. This was something that was done when we built High Point Drive back in the early 2012 or so. So the monitoring, I think, was actually done before we even went through the PDD modifications, if I'm not mistaken. Runoff from our developed areas of our site, As you guys all well know, we're basically collecting it all in storm sewers, taking it to our infiltration basin, and that's going to manage the runoff from us, as well as, the developed areas of this are going to end up in the stormwater facility to do the typical detain and release at slow rates. And the hydrology and everything is in our updated engineer's report for sections 2 through 4. Basically, big reductions at the 10 and the 100 year, the extreme storms. Stormwater out of Stormwater Facility B actually goes across the street into the parcel that's still retained by Fred. That has kind of like a low sump pit. It almost acts like a giant level spreader, and that thing tops over a big, long riprap spillway, and then that goes into, I think, the tributary of Arundequoit Creek, and then that runs down south, over behind Beer Project and stuff like that. That facility, I know for a fact that we do yearly inspections on that for Fred, so as far as my understanding is it's in maintained shape. Anytime there's an issue with it, it gets corrected. So as far as I'm aware, all the stormwater facilities for this project are functioning as intended. I'm not sure about other issues that Fred might have helped Francis out with over here, if that was something that was resulting from us, but I'm unaware of that. So. And then the last thing I do want to kind of just point out is I appreciate Francis Clement's comments as well too. He's talking about his one property, but to keep into consideration, we are creating a number of for sale townhouse lots for this, as well as a number of additional apartments. So, creating 255 residential units in the town of Victor, where housing is a need and is important, whereas something, like not having section 1, get reapproved for what we had kind of always assumed that was basically just continuing to get it reapproved until we were ready to build it, is something, critical to making this project work, so.
Okay, well, I guess to wrap up this conversation this evening, because we're not prepared to, I believe, act on a resolution for this. I will make a couple of requests. One, if you could provide an aerial view of where the lower of the two townhomes buildings are, and showing Valentine Road and High Point, so that we can see exactly where the tree line is relative to where that building is. So if you...
Almost like a zoomed in view?
Yeah, I'd like to see, this is nice, it shows lots of green and stuff, but it's hard to see what's actually out there.
Sure, we can do it.
If you can show an aerial of this area, and, include it across the street, let's zoom in and see where's the property line on the actual trees that are there, as most recently as of an aerial as you can get off of Google Earth, perhaps, or, what's the other one?
You can now use Eagle View.
Eagle View, thank you. Yeah.
And just really quick reference for where our buildings kind of sit. So these two buildings, we have a 20-foot setback along this property.
Yeah.
The northern building sits 35 feet at both corners away from that. This southern building sits 35 feet from the property here and 60 feet from the property here.
Okay, that would be helpful to see, like rectangles, a property line, and say, here's to the property line you've shown as being cleared, and then you've got fill and everything else.
Yep.
Just to get an idea of what's actually the real vegetation looks like.
And that's something too, I think I would want to talk with Bob Graham, the fire marshal, because one of the things that we always were trying to provide in the rear of the building was we had to have fill at a certain elevation so that they could let their ground ladders get up to the balcony. So we were always filling on the back of that building where we had always wanted to walk it out. So what we have now is kind of a agreement that we had with the fire marshal on that. So, maybe, again, kind of alluding to if we could walk this out more with that, and then maybe there's some ability to do a retaining wall to save some trees and enhance that buffer a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess that's my concern, is if we can show we can see exactly what's being trimmed, because right now we can show it on a green sketch, I guess. It doesn't really show actual trees. But perhaps there's an opportunity to add some greenery here near this pond, to add some buffer at the south end, I don't think you can do much between the building and north.
You don't have too much views, like when you're down here, because of how much the slope comes up to the top of that pond and the existing elevation. Your views are gonna be from this bend here looking up. Those are where your views are.
Understood.
Yeah.
But, okay.
But I totally get what you're saying,
Yeah.
Joe. We'll
I'd like
definitely
to
bring in a
give
blown up
everyone
view.
a sense of what actually is going to be done. I know we've approved it all in the past and all that, but we've got new residents and older residents that both, I think, have expressed a concern.
Would you guys be able to put us on the agenda in 2 weeks then, and so that way we can still have this conversation
I
before we
believe
get
so.
to the sections 2 through 4?
Yeah.
James, I had just a final question for you, which is relative to what Joe said. I noticed that you didn't use a walkout on the east side, and I thought that seems a little strange given the steep slope that you have there, but you mentioned the fire department, and maybe they want to access around or something like that? or-
Yeah, so when we had the 21 unit apartment buildings, part of all the agreements we had with the fire marshal for safety and security, the fire systems, standpipes in the stairwells for hose connections, things of that nature. One of the main things that they were concerned about was being able to get a ladder off the back of the building up to the third story balconies for access. So they had a max height that we needed to do. Basically, we had I think it was a 4-foot walkout from what the front finish grade was the max that we could do to let them get up there. And we were just trying to carry that same methodology.
If you were able to appease them and be allowed to do a walkout from a fire perspective, then you could really reduce the slope that you show there matching into the property line.
Significantly.
You could conserve more vegetation that way, and you could add plantings, whereas I don't think you can add plantings. They're gonna do much on a 1 and 2 slope.
So Scott, I'll just add that I believe that's the side where the parking garage is.
Correct.
I don't think there's any apartments that do walkouts on that side, or could do a walkout.
Yeah,
It'd be on the
so,
second floor.
so the only thing we're walking out is the building.
I see.
Basically, right now, where you kind of sit in the garage, you come in at this elevation, and the finish grade on the back sits up here. If we could walk it out at least to the bottom of that garage, or maybe even
I see.
extended footers or something to get it down another foot or
Okay.
two.
Otherwise-
But you're 100% right. If that is something that we could do, it should allow us to kind of minimize that grading, because it does come up, I think, like 10 feet or something.
So yeah, I mean, you could lower the grading, like James was
Yeah.
alluding to, and that's not a bad idea, and then you could do some plantings.
But again, I don't want to commit to that without talking to
No,
the fire
yeah.
marshal.
I understand. I've been down this road before with projects of my own, so I know what you're talking about. But it did jump out at me, and I thought, well, there must be a reason for that. Yeah.
So if we could maybe have you take a look at screening, foliage, whatever, trees that we could do, and adjusting the grade, as Scott perhaps suggested, then that might go
Yeah,
some.
I mean, it's not going to be a big lift to look at that just conceptually.
Yeah.
If I can have a quick conversation with Bob Graham and just get something over on tissue. And obviously, if we can get something tissue-wise that is good enough to get you guys approved, we obviously will get the plans updated, and we can have Labella do the final blessing as we kind of work through the
right.
rest of the section, so.
Those are the couple of things I was interested in,
Sure.
was to try to address the concerns for a view shed opposite the apartments on that side, or townhouses, sorry. Anything else from anyone? So, I guess unless there's something else, well, we have an opportunity to close the public hearing. Would anybody like to offer a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Pat?
I'll second it.
And Trish seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, public hearing's closed on this particular application from section 1. Thank you both for your comments, and we certainly will be looking at them and address them going forward. If you have any other concerns, please send them to the planning department, and we certainly can look at them down the road. But look forward to seeing you as a resident in Victor, and I hope you're happy here. So, with that, the only other thing I had on the agenda, or actually wasn't technically part of the agenda, but Lisa sent, or at least the town sent everyone notices for training that needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
There's like 5 or 6 at least of them. They're 15 to 30 minutes or something like
I
that.
did 2 today.
They're a lot of fun.
I'm sure they are, Dave. You have the ability to get them done by the end of March 28th, I think was the date, so.
You got a cheat sheet for them?
Anyway, yeah, no cheating. But I just want to bring your attention to that, take care of them as you can over the next month or so. And I believe that's it. So I take motion to adjourn. So who doesn't want to adjourn? Okay, motion to adjourn?
I'll move it.
Scott moves. Joe seconds. Meeting's adjourned.